When brothers take off for a day of exploring and cave diving, the last thing they'd be thinking is that one of them won't be coming back. It's hard to believe that an Air Force pararescue diver would fall victim to a single bad decision. But that's the tragedy of cave diving mistakes. You don't get a second chance. This is the fatal breakdown of the Goss Canyon diving tragedy. Michael and Paul Hayden had explored an abandoned water well cave in Goss Canyon during their childhood. They had been down in this cave many times, using it as a family watering hole with their siblings during California summers. As a family with 6 kids, they mostly explored the dry portions while hiking and swam in the deep flooded well section in the interior. From the outside, it didn't look like much. The entrance was a small dark hole measuring about 3 feet by 4 feet near the town of La Crescenta, California. The path was a horizontal entrance for about 50 feet, then a climb down a sloping hill for about 30 feet. The path continued on until the flooded pool area was reached. This was only 150 feet from the entrance, so it's a quick trip to explore and play in the water for youthful adventures. The area included dry cave ledges and holes, as well as 100-foot deep water pools between well shafts above. As the boys got older, they gained some skills and became bolder in their plans to explore this abandoned water well. They had been to tunnels and caverns within the flooded portion over the years, but now they wanted to look a little deeper. Fortunately for the brothers, Paul had become a top scuba diver as an Air Force pararescue instructor. For nearly 15 years, he had been a part of the elite pararescue force. His team members described him as conscientious, prepared, safe, and skilled. As a master sergeant in the Air Force, he had dedicated nearly 20 years in service to others. He was an extremely skilled open-water diver and had plenty of experience to serve as leader for their new adventures. Their mother stated that they had done this type of diving there many times over the years, so they had plenty of experience in this cave and these specific conditions. On September 17, 2000, Paul planned to explore some farther tunnels and well shafts in the cave. They hiked up to the cave carrying the scuba equipment to the pool area. He was using his mounted GoPro camera as a light source and was equipped with 2 hours of air. Michael planned to stay in the main cave to monitor his brother, knowing the time limit they were working with. The brothers had a system to communicate with the rope tether that was attached to a rock in the main cave. Michael would give a couple of tugs on the rope to check on Paul's status. Paul would then tug a couple of times in response to indicate that he was okay. Things seemed to be going well. The lead was being pulled down as expected, and Michael continued to feed the rope length out for his brother. He had tugged a few times and Paul had responded. After about 20 minutes, he pulled twice and waited for a reply. This time, there was nothing. He pulled again, but found the line to be tight. His instant thought was that Paul was stuck. He pulled as hard as he could, but there was no release on the line. After just a few minutes, he left the cave to get diver support. He knew that his brother had only 90 minutes of air remaining, so if he was trapped, moving quickly was essential. Michael burst through the doors of the Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Department to seek emergency assistance. The department responded immediately. The LA County Sheriff's Department, along with the Montrose Search and Rescue Team, responded to the scene. They used all-terrain vehicles to travel the rocky valley to the cave entrance. The LA County Fire Department joined them for a full rescue team. Once at the cave, they entered the water immediately to attempt a rescue. When the brothers had first arrived, Paul was excited about exploring beyond his usual caves and tunnels. This cave system was actually a remnant of an old water well system from 1915. This cave included caverns from natural erosion and water buildup, as well as shafts from the surface for water access. The well had been abandoned long ago, so these caves and shafts were flooded with water, and the air had long been stagnant. There were sump pools that were 100 feet deep. Between these pools were tunnels filled with water, which led to other cave areas. The original well shafts were built out at the water level and created a small 3-foot by 3-foot area where the water could be accessed by pipes from the surface. Those pipes had long been removed. Soil and rock filled the narrow pipe areas above. The organic matter released decay gases into the chamber below, and water erosion of the stone contributed gases as well. After swimming through caves and tunnels in the front area, he finally came to one of the shafts. It was only 3 feet wide inside this shaft, which made it a bit cumbersome for Paul's body with a scuba tank on his back. As he looked up with his camera light, he could see the silvery reflection of the surface above. It was an air pocket in the top of the shaft. Paul was a very experienced scuba diver, but he was not trained or certified in cave diving. He had enough experience to know that air pockets in caves can be very dangerous. His family stated that he usually carried a lighter to test the oxygen content of air in a pocket before removing his regulator. On this day, he did not. His camera records the moment he came up into the pocket of gas with the view up the top of the shaft illuminated by his camera light. He then removed his regulator from his mouth and takes a breath. The footage shows the wall of the shaft and then submersion in water. He makes no attempt to put the regulator back in his mouth, which suggests he is completely incapacitated. Paul sinks immediately to the bottom of the shaft and shows no further movement. It was only a few moments from regulator removal to submersion. So what happened to Paul? It seems hard to believe that a single breath of air could result in his death, but the video evidence proves it. I'm sure if you're diving with a full tank of air, you feel comfortable checking the pocket. If it smells bad or feels suffocating, you just put your regulator back in your mouth and move on. But unfortunately, it's not that simple. Just a single breath of air that is above 10% carbon dioxide will result in immediate loss of consciousness. This is due to carbon dioxide poisoning. Normally, carbon dioxide makes up about 0.04% of the air we breathe. When the air in our lungs is near the venous blood that's full of carbon dioxide, it quickly exits the blood and enters the air where there is a much lower concentration. When carbon dioxide in lung air is more than 100 times higher than that in the blood, then CO2 will rapidly push into the bloodstream in less than 1 second. Gases move in the direction of highest concentration to lower concentration. Normally, this process only goes in one direction, removing carbon dioxide from the body. In this case, the high concentration of CO2 in the air reversed the direction of diffusion. Extremely high levels of carbon dioxide in the blood results in acute respiratory acidosis, where the blood becomes highly acidic and deadly. If this kind of gas exposure happened in an industrial location, coworkers may be able to pull you out of the dangerous condition. Oxygen can be administered, and emergency medical attention can start right away. When you are in a tunnel of water, losing consciousness is fatal. The full tank of air sinking with him was useless. He simply slipped into the water and died within just a minute or two. There was nothing that anyone could do at that point. His brother would have been pulling his line, with no response, after Paul was already gone. This type of death is a stark reminder that well-trained, physically capable people can be lost in an instant. One decision ended the life of a man who was so accomplished and had been the rescuer when others were in trouble. He was an experienced scuba diver and had some knowledge of cave diving. The problem is that cave diving is its own special category with extremely unique problems and risks. Appropriate training, hours of guided experience, and certification are absolutely necessary to understand the variety of deadly risks cave divers can encounter.